Hello and welcome back. Now, for this episode, just a quick recap of the previous episodes. So we talked about how about you can pick an interest area or your niche. The area you're going to be focusing on, the area you're going to be specializing on, the area where you're going to put and commit yourself to actually studying and learning more about. Now, and one of the criteria is that it has to be willing, and especially on your part, is that you have to be willing and able to work on it for at least 3 to 5 years. That is how long it actually takes you to actually get, it's the time it takes for you to actually develop a body of knowledge in that area, a solid body of knowledge in that area, and also requires, a commitment that you make for yourself to be able to develop yourself in that specific area. And it's kind of like going to campus or going to university or college for a degree program, whereby you basically you're stuck in that class for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, however long it is, depending on the kind of program and how long the program is. But in that time, you build a body of knowledge in that area, whereby if anybody has a problem in that area, they can come to you and ask you a question, and you'll be able to actually answer some of those questions. Now, you may not be able, you may not be the smartest guy with, like the highest GPA and everything, but there is some level of foundational knowledge that you have that people can come to you for help. And so if somebody comes to you for help for, let's say you're doing, a biology class or something, somebody comes to you for help with anatomy, you don't know what to call this bone or that bone, you'll be able to answer, at least some of those basic questions. They ask you questions about cell biology, or if you're doing math, something like calculus, or if you're doing computer science, at least know how to program, or some of the basics of object-oriented programming, or things like that. So there's that level of knowledge, or the body of knowledge that you need to kind of have when you're actually doing a degree program. And so what happens in the first 1 year or 2 years is usually the foundational period, and then the third year or the fourth year, that's kind of where you actually start and you begin to specialize. And so that's why I'm telling. It's one of the criteria is, for me, for instance, it's something that I've committed to be able to do for the next 3 to 5 years. And so you have to be willing to be able to do and to study in that subject matter for the next 3 to 5 years. No excuses, no part whether you feel like it or you don't, but it's something that you have to make that commitment. So think of yourself as enrolling for a college degree or a program or university program or something like that, and you're going to be committed to it for the next 3 to 5 years. Okay? Now, and the only tuition fee is your time, because right now you're not going to, you're not actually paying tuition for $10,000 or a lot of money just to actually go to school for per semester. One, the only tuition here is an interest, a passion that you have for the subject, and the time to actually study about the area. Now, basically, you want to get to a point where on any random day, you can answer questions and give advice at any point in time in that subject area or in that subject matter. And so, kind of like how you go and you consult a doctor. Every time you go to the doctor, they don't tell you, wait a minute, let me go read my book, and then they go and find your symptoms before they come and answer your questions. They go there, they tell you, okay, so they listen to you, you tell them what kind of problem they have, they ask you a couple of questions, they tell you to go for some tests, and then they come back and write you a prescription or something of that sort. Now, you want to get to that kind of point or that level of a doctor, but don't worry, there's no pressure right now. You're not supposed to do it like in the next 1 month. You have a few years, like I said, you have 3 to 5 years to specialize in this matter. But I was giving you the example of a doctor for you to get an idea of what is expected or what you need to do to be able to get to that level. And so as a doctor, they study for like 7 years, I think, or 8 years, depending on your country. And that's when they're actually able to qualify or get a license to become practicing doctors. And so basically, you want to get to the point of becoming a practicing, whatever it is. If you're in the fitness stage, you want to get to the point of a practicing person, whereby you can tell somebody, if somebody comes to you with a sprained ankle because of doing, some squats or some, I don't even know if that is a thing, or they come to you with a backache because of doing, a deadlift or something, you're able to diagnose the problem and tell them this is the reason why you're doing this. Maybe you need to change your position. You need to adjust how you hold the weights or something like that. If you're doing nutrition, if somebody comes to you and they're probably having issues with their diet, they're trying to lose weight and they can't, and then you talk to them about their diet and they tell you this and this and this, and you can tell them, oh yeah, you need to reduce the carb intake that you're having right now, reduce the sugars and whatnot. And so you want to get to that level whereby you can do diagnostics, so to speak, whereby someone can come to you with a problem and then you can help them come up with a solution. You can even point out the solution or where the problem area is. And so that's why you need to continuously be learning. And so that's why the title of this episode is The Foundation of Knowledge. And that means that is you always be learning. And so that is what you want to get to, that kind of point. Now, and so you see, it's about mastery here. Now, don't confuse this with perfection. You're not trying to be perfect. There's no one who is perfect in this world. Not even the geniuses in that area are perfect. So what you want to do is get to a level of a body of knowledge whereby you're saturated, so to speak, or you have a lot of information or knowledge about the subject matter that to the basic person or the basic, to the average Joe that you meet, you're able to answer any of the questions that they have about a subject matter. All right. And it's like the same way, like if you're not a lawyer and you meet somebody who's a lawyer, they're not exactly the best person. You probably know a lawyer or two in your phone book, or you probably have at least a contact of one lawyer or two. They're not exactly the best persons when it comes to becoming law, when it comes to the field of law. However, they can answer you some of the basic questions if you're talking about, dealing with a DUI or a criminal case or something like that. They can give you some level of advice that you did not know, or some level of insight that you did not know, that will be able to help you in whatever issue that you're having. And so it's not about it's not about perfection. It's not about being the best there. It's about mastery, being able to you need to a certain level of knowledge. You need to acquire a certain level of knowledge that you'll be able to answer basic questions. And even when you cannot answer the questions, you'll be able to at least be solid enough whereby you can go and know where to reference to be able to find the answers to that question. And now the reason why we're doing this is because the more knowledge that you can show, and especially this is when it comes to conversations and engaging people, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with people and you're going to have to talk to them at some point. And so the more knowledge that you can display in a certain subject area or subject matter, it allows you or gives you, it's a springboard for you to start positioning yourself as an expert. Now, the two things that usually happen when you talk about always be learning. Number one of the first benefits is that you begin to build up your confidence. You become more confident in what you know, whereby nobody can easily just kind of dismiss you because you have that level of body of knowledge that you've invested in over time, and it shows and with your results. But I know you may not have the results, but we'll get to that later on. And number two, it also helps you build up credibility, because here's the thing: as long as you're sharing this knowledge with people and they know that you know these things, they begin to trust you because you always have answers to their questions, you always have solutions to their problems, and so you begin to position yourself as an expert. Now, do you have to be the best in the world? Like I said, you don't have to be the best in the world. However, you need to build up a body of knowledge on the matters. That means you can hold a conversation for at least like 1 hour or 2 hours, even the whole day. You have to get to the point whereby you may not be able to do that from the get-go, but at least you have to be able to do that or have that discussion and help people be able to kind of like solve the problems that they're having, whatever subject area or interest area that you have chosen, and have that and hold that conversation, be an engaging conversation for the next, at least an hour. And you know what that says? One of the first things that I learned is for you to speak on a topic area for about 1 hour, you need to have spent at least 100 hours on that subject matter. And so you're going to be having conversations at least an hour each day. So you're going to commit yourself to actually studying for hours every single day. All right. Now, you may not be able to do that at the first time, but however, you will be able to do that with time as you slowly build up the foundation of the knowledge that you have. So basically like building a Lego house or something like that. So but every piece of Lego is building up towards building this mansion or this big picture you're trying to come up with. And so that's why you need to constantly build up your level of knowledge. And so one of the first principles moving forward is the foundation of knowledge, which is always be learning. And now this is the thing why you need to be learning at all the time, because the people you'll be serving or the people you're going to be currently serving are where you are right now. Okay, before you actually commit to doing like this for the next 3 to 5 years, they are where you are right now. And so think about it this way: if somebody wants to have look fit, the ones who look fit don't have a great body, so to speak, don't have washboard abs, six-pack abs, whatever, and right now you may not have it as well, and it's very good. And so you're a beginner, all right, and so you begin on this journey whereby you're going to learn how to get washboard abs. You're going to begin this journey whereby you're going to learn about how to look like a fitness model. And so as you do this, what happens is every step you take, you become one step ahead of the person you're going to help, because now the person you're going to help is going to be in your position where you were before you started on this journey. And so for instance, if you commit to doing this for the next 6 months, the body of knowledge that you'll have in the next 6 months is going to be more than the person who wants to get fit. Because now they'll be wondering, where do I even start? Because I have a pot belly and I want to get rid of it. I want to have, washboard abs and whatnot. But because you're 6 months ahead, they'll be able to you'll be able to even command their attention, because here's the thing: you spend 6 months learning this thing, and so they can be able to trust you based on your own personal experience. And so that's why I'm saying one of the first things that you need to understand is you need to know where you are right now. So if you're a beginner, that is even perfect, is even better, that because you can even document your journey. And I'll talk more about that one later on when we start talking about creating content and whatnot. But for right now, I just want you to get to have an understanding of what it is that is required of you. That way you can be able to know the steps that you need to take when the time actually comes. And so you need to understand where you are, and because that is where the people who are going to be helping are going to be starting from. And so if you're already doing this in your experience, that is even great, because now you've already gone, at least maybe you've done this for 1 year, you've been studying for 1 year, you've been going to the gym for at least 1 year. There are things that you know, there's certain exercises that you can teach people, there's certain guidelines that you can show people. You have your own experience that you've acquired of, if I lift weights like this, I'm probably going to hurt my back, I'm going to sprain my ankle, I'm going to, strain my bicep, I'm going to hurt for like the whole week or whatever. And this experience can help a beginner. And so it's like when you go to the gym and a beginner comes and asks you, hey, can you help me? Can you teach me how I'm supposed to do weight? Can you spot me? Can you help me like this and this and that? And it's basically the same way. So you need to know where you are, first of all. That way you can be able to help the people who are going to be where you are. Because here's the thing, as you continue to develop this knowledge, for instance, if you do this, if you commit to going to the gym for 1 month, you're going to be 1 month ahead of the person who has never been to the gym before, and you can be able to help them at least in that 1 month. And even in that month that you're helping them, you're also growing in your own way, so you're going to be at least a month ahead of them. And so that is where you want to be. So the people you're going to be serving here are the people who are where you are before you committed to going to this journey. And so if you're a beginner, it is even better. If you're experienced, that is great. You know at least the ropes. So if you're a beginner, you're going to learn the ropes. As you learn the ropes, they're going to solidify your knowledge gap. And if you're already experienced, you already know the ropes, or you at least know some of the basics, you know some of the obstacles, you know some of the pain points that people are going to be experiencing during this journey, and you can help them with that. So the point is, you want to be 1 step or 2 steps ahead of the people you're going to be serving. And it's very important to know where you are, and to do that, it's very important for you to know where you are and where they are, the people you're going to be serving. Now, why? Like I gave you an example before. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you're doing math, for instance, okay? If you're doing math, there's a certain progression to learning mathematics, so to speak. All right. So when you first joined in as like a grade 1 or whatever grade you started in, there was a certain progression that you started with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then you went on to more advanced topics and more advanced manipulation of numbers and things and whatnot. Then you get to letters and even different formulas and whatnot. So as you slowly progress from the basic level, you're able to advance in knowledge. Now, I'm going to use an example of algebra, which is like the basic foundation knowledge before you go to something like calculus. So you cannot do calculus if you don't know algebra. However, somebody who has done calculus can be able to teach somebody who's done, if you know your calculus, for instance, you can be able to teach algebra because you've already gone through algebra and now you've gone into calculus. So to speak, you are ahead of the person who's currently doing algebra. And so you can probably teach that class of algebra because you're doing calculus right now. And so that is what I want you guys to understand. Now, let's not go deeper into this, but if you know calculus, basically you can teach algebra. And so the goal is always to be learning. Number one is always be learning why, to be a step ahead of the people you're going to serve or you want to serve. Now, another example to help you understand is you probably have a little brother or a little sister or a kid somewhere in your neighborhood or somewhere around your house or somewhere near you. And a lot of the times when they have questions, they have homework or something like that, they come to you and ask you, hey, how do I do this? How do I solve this math question? How do I do this English problem? How do I do this? And you can be able to answer them. Even if you finished years ago, you can be able to answer some of the questions because you've already been there. And so you can be able to tell them, okay, so this is how you do it. This is not how you're supposed to do it. And at least if you have that knowledge, at least what is fresh in your mind, so you can be able to help them in one way or another. And so that is the goal here. You want to be a step ahead of the people you're going to be serving. Now, you see, these people, they come to you for help. So like the same way your little brother, your little sister, that kid in your block, or that, that guy you're mentoring, or that guy who's younger than you, who you're helping out doing their studies and whatnot. Here's the thing. They come to you for help, to ask you some of these questions because they don't know. And so they're looking to you, and in their eyes, you're an expert. And so this is what you're doing. This is a journey that you're going through right now. And so you're going to position yourself as an expert. But for you to do that, you need to always be learning. So education does not stop when you finished when you finished a college degree or when you finished high school. That was actually the beginning of education, real world education. And I'm going to give you an example of how this actually applies in real life. And so it's like when you're in middle school, you could help the lower grades. When you're in junior high, you could help middle school students. When you're in senior high, you could help junior school students. And the same applies. Like, let me give you an example of my own example. One of the first very dollars I made, one of the first money, one of the first, how do I put this? One of the first pennies I earned online, so to speak, whereby I sat down for like 2 weeks and I started programming. I did HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. And after 2 weeks, I knew I had a basic understanding of of the web and how it works. And then it was only 2 weeks later when I got a contract, so to speak. It was $100 on my first website, and that was way back in 2014. And it was $100 on my first website. And so after I learned it, this person came and wanted a website for me to build them a website. And so I did. I accepted the money and I did. Now, I did not have any qualifications, so to speak. And the only difference between that person and me was because I had spent 2 weeks learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. So I was very resourceful when it comes to learning. And so as I continued to learn, I was able to build them their website in like 2 weeks later. And so that is how I got started. That's how I made the first money. And even later on, about a few years later, maybe in 2017, maybe 3 years, I think about 3 years later in 2017, I got my first client doing search engine optimization. For those of you who don't know, it's about ranking your website on the first page of Google. I know Google doesn't have the first page, but it's pretty much the same about getting your website on the first pages of Google. And for the guy that was doing this when I was doing this job for, he was an e-commerce guy, very experienced in the nation and whatnot. However, I sold him. I had a basic understanding of SEO. Such I had never done it before, but I gave him a proposal and a strategy on how to follow, and he liked the strategy and even paid me about $2,225 per month to actually do SEO for his website, for his e-commerce website. Now, I did make some mistakes along the way, but at least for that year, I was able to rank some of the keywords that he had that I was supposed to rank for them. And so the only difference between me and him was that, first of all, I was doing this as I was learning, number one. And so I had paid for a course and I was studying it each and every single day. And what I would study, I would apply. What I would study, I would apply. And for him, the guy was so happy about it. He used to pay me $2,225 every month for like 8 months. So I made it quite a pretty penny doing work for him. And so the goal I want you to understand here is you always want to be a step or two, at least. If you can do 2 steps, even better, but you always want to be a step or two ahead of where you're going to be serving. That way you can be able to position yourself as an expert in their eyes. You may not be the expert, but in their eyes, you're going to be the expert. All right. And so thanks guys for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.